Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. I'm a former brick and mortar store owner turned retail expert who is passionate about entrepreneurship and has experienced the highs and lows of running a retail business. Whether you're a seasoned retail veteran or an aspiring store owner, consider me your guide on this store owning journey. If you're looking to run a profitable and growing business that doesn't drain you, follow my 6 stages of shopkeeping and subscribe to this show. Join me for a journey of continuous learning where protecting your mind, maximizing profit, and determining your own schedule are a priority. Get ready to work smarter, profit more, and grow your retail business. Welcome to episode 232 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast, the ugly truth about menopause or perimenopause while running a business. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. Well, today's topic is different, right? And although it may seem off topic, I promise you it's not. It's not the case for most of you listening. I know many of you listening are experiencing this or will, or maybe you already have, and hearing what I have to share might help you feel better or maybe even feel validated. I first have to share a disclaimer before I move on because anything I share in this episode is my personal journey and personal choices. This is not medical advice. I highly encourage you to consult with your primary care physician or a women's wellness physician, maybe your professional medical team to support you and your needs on your own peri or menopause journey. Many of you know that I have been traveling a lot this year to speak at conferences, teach workshops, host meetups, connect with Master Shopkeepers members, conduct store intensives, and more. And I love the work I do. Especially if you're in Master Shopkeepers, you know I'm so passionate about this. I love everything I do. I look forward to getting up in the morning and doing all of this. And I do enjoy traveling both professionally and to enjoy time with my family. However, after a series of back-to-back trips during the summer, I arrived home and found myself feeling completely depleted, beyond just like the introvert in me that needs a break. And with a multitude of symptoms that I felt like I had no control over. Now, this summer's travel isn't the only time I experienced this. I've experienced this probably several times over the past 2 years, and sometimes even without travel involved. And in my mind, I would blame it on being an introvert, maybe making poor dietary decisions, not exercising enough, and who knows what else my brain was telling me. So after 2 years of misery, I got home from this particular series of trips. And because I probably felt and looked the worst, I'll spare you details on that. Let's just say it affects my eyes, puffy eyes. Anyhow, I decided to take action after this past series of trips, and I just came back feeling so poorly. And I learned I'm knee deep, actually probably chest deep in perimenopause, and it sucks. I just want to say that. The symptoms list for anyone experiencing peri or menopause, I should say perimenopause or menopause, and perimenopause is the period that comes before menopause actually happens. I won't go into detail or explain what all of that is. There's so much education online, lots of books and resources. But the symptoms list is disturbingly long and it's different for every woman. For me, it was brain fog, fatigue, inflammation, foot pain, which is so random to me, joint pain, weight gain, digestive issues, headaches, and I'm sure there are probably some others that I'm forgetting at this moment. Yes, even something like unexplained foot pain and problems. And I will avoid going on a tangent about that one too, but it's a real thing. These are real symptoms that we're experiencing, that I experienced. For many other women, some common symptoms are hot flashes. I know a lot of you are experiencing this now. Insomnia or sleep disruption that includes night sweats. And again, lots of other symptoms. So like I mentioned, I decided to take action. And During this action, where I was like, I'm done, I need to figure this out, this isn't normal, I don't feel right, I found some aha moments. The first one, that was when I decided to analyze my own health data and I built a health tracker. This is going to be no surprise to some of you. The data analytical geek built a health tracker. So I went into my healthcare system app and I decided to create a Google Sheet and I documented every bit of lab work that I had done over the past 10 to 15 years, including the date, the result of the test. And then I highlighted anything that was red flagged in terms of, it was indicating that my cholesterol was high or anything like that, or my vitamin D was low. And I mapped this all out in this spreadsheet. And once this was done, I started to look for patterns. This is where my former career shows up. In particular, the time I spent in crime analysis when I was identifying crime patterns. I should add that I'm fairly proactive when it comes to my health. I do go for my yearly physicals and my yearly women's health appointments, like my mammograms. But even with being proactive and staying on top of those appointments, I still didn't see what was happening. And I say this all the time about business data too. You can kind of run your business and do all the things in the background and kind of know one data point, like your total revenue this year versus last year. But when you start to unpack all of the information and you put it into one place to see it, you will start to see patterns too. So anyhow, now I really appreciate that I had the data from those previous appointments to look at, because when I analyzed it, I saw one pattern. Well, I probably saw a few, but one pattern that I saw was that I was vitamin deficient, particularly vitamin D, prior to retiring from my former career. Now, this isn't surprising as I look back, because at the time I was working a lot, often indoors, and I rarely spent time in the sun. Post-retirement, I didn't have any vitamin deficiencies, but there were some other red flags that started after I retired. And I didn't have the vitamin deficiency because I spend time in the sun. I'm outside all the time now. But seeing it all together in one Google Sheet is when I was smacked in the face with the realization that I was chest deep in perimenopause. And some of you might be thinking, duh, Kathy, it's so obvious. Take your age and some of the symptoms. And if you're that aware about your body, I applaud you. It just wasn't me. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. But there are probably some of you listening who may not realize it either, and that's why I want to share this. And I think part of it is, and I'm going to talk about this more, is we're entrepreneurs and we push through and we do all the things. So my second aha moment, I was gaslighting myself. I spent 2 years beating myself up. That's why I'm not going to beat myself up now. Blaming myself for how I was feeling, even though I don't really make a lot of poor dietary decisions. I close my exercise ring at least 5 times, if not 7 times a week. I don't drink sugar-loaded beverages. It's actually just coffee in the mornings, sometimes in the afternoons, and usually water the rest of the day. I sleep 7 to 8 hours every night. And if you know me, I'm not a partier or anything like that. And in fact, I'm a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. So it was interesting to me that that's what I was doing to myself. This one, it really bothered me. I certainly wouldn't want anyone else gaslighting me, but the fact that I was doing it myself, that one stings a little. Again, I'm not doing it now. And then the third aha moment was when I started reading The New Menopause. That's the title of a book by Dr. Mary Claire Haver. I think that's how you say her name. And as I record this podcast episode, I've not finished the book yet. I'm about halfway through. But one important quote from the book that resonated with me was when she said, "Each woman seemed to feel isolated in her own dismay and despair." And then that was followed by a quote that's by a woman who said, "I tried to be tough and power through it." So over the past couple years, I kept saying this out loud. Like I actually kept saying that I felt lonely and I was blaming other people for it. But this is the aha moment I realized that I was doing it to myself because I felt so poorly, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. My self isolation is part of what was causing the loneliness. And that was a bit of a breakthrough for me. So it should be no surprise that this all affected me in business too. This episode is brought to you by my new free resource, a ChatGPT guide for retailers. There is no other tool that has saved me as much time in 2024 as ChatGPT has. My new guide will help you learn about this free artificial intelligence tool. Yes, it's free, and it's not as intimidating as it sounds. I share 14 ways retailers are using the tool now to save them time and effort. I also share real store owner examples, and the results from one search will blow your mind. Visit savvyshopkeeper.com/chatgpt to sign up for this free guide. So here are the effects that I experienced on my own business. I wasn't as productive. I was exhausted on Zoom calls because of fatigue, although hopefully no one saw that. I struggled to make decisions, particularly with my team. And when making daily or strategic decisions for the business, that was even harder for me. I struggled to create content. I avoided showing up in some ways. Now, I still showed up, of course. I was still running my business and doing all the things, but man, it was a slog. So here I am, still navigating all of this, still learning, and now being more proactive than ever. Normally, I wait until I get to the other side of something like this before I share about it, but I decided that I needed to share this now. So I can't tell you that I'm 100%, that I feel myself again. Some days are good, some days aren't great. I can't tell you that I've lost any weight, but what I can tell you, some of the things that I have done for myself have helped. So this is what has helped me. Number one, for sure, was awareness. Just understanding what was happening with my body was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Number two, fiber and supplements. Now, I won't share which ones I'm taking because, again, that's really based off of what I saw in my own lab work results over the past decade. But I knew for sure off of one test that kept coming up that was being red flagged that fiber was going to be important to me. And then I added a few other supplements. Number three, being proactive. I just feel better knowing that I'm taking action and doing something to make myself or to let myself feel better here. I made a women's wellness appointment, and I'm currently in the middle of a couple of recommendations that the specialist gave me. So I will circle back, I think, if any of you are interested, with a follow-up episode. Number four, friends, and just sharing about it, communicating about it, just being able to share and talk about it with my husband. That felt really good to have just a quiet conversation one morning, probably when I was feeling my worst. Having him hear me and circle back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know, not that he needed to apologize, but that he wasn't aware either, and just letting him know, hey, listen, if I wake up and I'm not feeling my best, or if I'm looking and feeling sluggish, you might now at least know why. And then having conversations with my girlfriends. So many of my girlfriends are going through this, and we're sharing about it, and we're sharing some humor about it too, because sometimes we just have to laugh. Number five is coaching. Being able to talk about it with my own coach has definitely helped. If you have a therapist, utilize them, talk to them. I also thought it was interesting when I went to book my appointment with the women's wealth physician, and I had to do a pre-appointment survey. One of the options, I think the question was, I'm looking at my screen, the question was, what have you tried to relieve your symptoms? And one of the options was working with a mental health therapist or life coach. I thought that was really interesting. And it has. Again, being able to talk about it has helped me a lot. And then the other thing was the master shopkeepers conversation. After realizing what was going on, and while I was in the middle of this discovery, I decided to post something about it in Master Shopkeepers. And the response to my post was incredibly strong. It's one of the most engaging conversations in the group. So many of the store owners in the group are experiencing this and their own set of symptoms, and they openly shared about it. This is when I knew I needed to record this episode now rather than later. On that post, a Master Shopkeepers member commented, and she said, "My toxic trait is knowing my body's check engine light is on, and I'm still driving it around like, nah, I'll be fine." I laugh, but that it just resonates so much with me. It was like 100% relatable and really a big motivation for sharing this episode, which feels really vulnerable. Like, who wants to talk about this on a public podcast? But we are programmed to push through, to do it all, to sometimes think that we're mentally unstable, although I didn't really experience that, but I know other people have, all while our bodies are raging. And I'm just here to share with you and to let you know that that isn't the case, that we don't have to push through, that we don't have to do it all, that we maybe can slow down, that we can listen to our bodies, that we can have these conversations, that we can go to our doctor and insist on, addressing what's going on with us. So the other interesting thing that I discovered, which makes publishing this podcast episode so timely, this podcast episode will publish on October 10th. And on October 17th, a new documentary is being released on PBS. It's titled The M Factor, M for menopause. And I will be watching this. I will link the documentary website in the show notes. And this will be savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 232 so that you can learn more about the documentary if this applies to you. But some important stats on their website struck me. And I think 4 out of the 6 that I screenshotted apply, I feel like, to business owners. So, for example, $1.8 billion was a metric that they shared. And it says, while enduring menopause, women lose an estimated $1.8 billion in earnings each year. Businesses lose an estimated $680 million in productivity each year. Another one said 15% of women. Only 15% of women receive evidence-based interventions for menopause symptoms. 15%. Another one said 1.1 billion women. By 2025, globally, there will be 1.1 billion women in menopause. No wonder why there was such a strong conversation in Master Shopkeepers about this. Another one said 1 out of 4 women. 1 out of 4 women felt that their menopause symptoms negatively impacted their career development or work-related opportunities, while 17% have actually quit a job or considered quitting due to menopause symptoms. I imagine the same thing applies to running a business. So again, we will link information about the documentary in the show notes. The website is themfactorfilm.com in case that's helpful to you right now while you're listening. If you're noticing a lot of chatter and rumbling about perimenopause and menopause, you're right. I think this is trending. And personally, I think it's about damn time. On the documentary's website, it says, not just a film, but a movement. It's time that we all talk about this. It's time to debunk some myths, to learn really what's going on, to learn our options, to learn how to make this better. This podcast episode isn't a powerful documentary, but goodness, if it gives one of you a moment of clarity now versus 2 years later, like what I experienced, I'll be thrilled. If you found this podcast episode helpful, I tend to ask that you share this with a retail business friend, but for this particular episode, share it with any woman, business owner or not, especially if they're in their 40s or 50s, and then share it with younger generations, because I think this is going to be helpful to them too. If you want to see the show notes to this episode and find all the links that I mentioned, you'll visit my blog at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 232. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up. And to be clear, bossing up doesn't mean pushing through your physical red flags.